Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frank Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices, and we have allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, we ask that you like, comment, and share this live feed. Now, as of late, our Facebook page is at risk of being taken down. The powers that be do not want you, the voter, to know the truth. But remember, we will not be silenced. Now, if you're really about the cause and you want to stand up to corruption and you want to hold our elected leaders accountable, well, we ask that you subscribe to our social media platforms. Currently, right now, this live feed is being streamed on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and also on YouTube. We could be found under Frankie Olivo on X and on Facebook. We also encourage you to follow our personal Facebook page titled Olivo Frankie. Most importantly, we do ask that you subscribe. You need to create a Gmail account, a Gmail email, in order for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Currently, right now, we are at we're about 770 subscribers. The goal by the end of this year is to reach 1,000 subscribers. I will never ever ask you for money, Brownsville. I will never ever ask you for food. Well, depends what you're making. All I ask of you is for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Remember, Good Morning Brownsville will come on, rain or shine, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. religiously. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo to tune in. And always remember, we will not be silenced. And always remember, Brownsville, we are forever thankful to each and every one of you for the time and attention that you provide us. Thank you so much for that. How we doing, chat? How we doing? Man, something funny is going on. I don't know if it's Russia. I don't know if it's the Democrats. For the past few days, my camera is not working. I do not know why. This is what I see on my end. I know that there is a black box, but this is what I see. This is my screen, okay? That is why I put my main picture, my profile picture on there. So I do not know what's going on. Again, technology, I got to work through the kinks. I've been in and out of the office. I do have 2 cameras, but again, technology. I'll try to work and fix whatever problem there's something wrong with the feed, apparently. But nonetheless, I learned from a great master that always told me that the circus does not stop for a changuito or a changuita. So the show must go on. What I want to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, is a very interesting topic. I want to talk about what has been happening at the Capitol as of late. It's the LGBTQ conspiracy. Could be. I got nothing but love for my LGBTQ community. LOL. Man, I don't know what it is, but again, we'll work through it. I do apologize, family. I do apologize again. This is what I see. You see me on that screen? But on your screen, on your feed, you get a black box. Why? I do not know. But again, we'll work out the kinks over the weekend. I promise you that, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about something very interesting that is happening at the Capitol. We do anticipate that these congressional maps, good morning. We do anticipate that these congressional maps will be finalized today, if I'm not mistaken. If they haven't been already, they will be finalized very, very soon. Many people have argued that this is a form of discrimination, how gerrymandering in the state of Texas is catering to the likes of President Trump and his administration. So I want to talk a little bit about that because a lot has been transpiring as of late. And today, our focal point, ladies and gentlemen, and what we titled our program, today's program is, did District 38 Representative Erin Gamez impede the action of the House of Representatives? Why? Well, because just yesterday, there was a memo that was sent out to those House Democrats in the state of Texas who broke quorum. The state is asking for them to be fined in the sum of $125,000 of cost, which was incurred by the House. And that is what I want to focus on today. Is our state representative on the hook for this? And if so, what does she have to say about this? And that is how we will start today's program. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do want to start, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to start today's program by showing a video of what she had to say in regards to this important topic. Again, many people, Toker, many people criticize our platform and say, oh, you're biased. You are pro-Republican. You don't bash Republican ideologies. Well, we've made the argument yesterday of how, we have attacked the local Republican Party in Cameron County. Again, we made the argument that these people in a nonpartisan race at the municipal level here in the city of Brownsville, they gave Democrats money for their campaigns during the runoffs. We're very critical of them because they themselves, Susan for the Corrupt and Deborah Jobless Bell, were very critical of people such as Morgan Graham, the former chairwoman of the Republican Party of Cameron. They were very critical of her. And ultimately, what they became was that of who they were complaining about. It's funny what happens to people when they come into office. So we're going to present this video. I know you're watching, Toker, just for you, because we do want to provide our community the full picture, so to speak. So that is how we will start today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, Brownsville.
Debate. I rise today in opposition to this effort to conduct mid-decade redistricting as a proud Texan and as a proud native of South Texas in particular. South Texas in particular asked on multiple occasions to please bring live committee hearings and testimonies to the Valley so that the Valley could participate in this debate. Because as you know, to date, we are one of the most economically disenfranchised, disconnected parts of the state. So to everyone who did not get to attend, please know that we continue to fight on your behalf. And again, I stand here in line with those Texans who firmly believe across Texas and the nation that people should choose their representatives and not the other way around. And to everyone in here who states, and to everyone listening who's thinking, well, gerrymandering, this is just politics. This is pure politics. This doesn't really affect me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, politics affects everything. The air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the books that we read or do not allow others to read. It affects everything, and to say otherwise is purely privilege that we cannot take for granted. I stand here today to say, if you are from South Texas, this is not about whether you are red or whether you are blue. This is about your voice and your representation. Our Valley, South Texas, has unique needs to those comparable to anywhere else in the rest of the state. We're one of the only areas that has sea, land, and airports. So when you create districts in South Texas that sprawl over 200 miles, that stretch you out like string beans from the northern border of Mexico to the center of Texas, tell me, how is that fair and unique to your voice? Some of the districts that we've carved out in South Texas, for example, in CD 34, if anyone looks you in the face and says, this is good for South Texas, it is a lie. This proposed map removes over 294,000 Hispanic voices from South Texas and moves them to north of Nueces County. Again, almost 200 miles away from where you and your family live. That's a 38% reduction in Valley Hispanic voices. If anyone looks you in the face in South Texas and says that that is good for the Valley, it is a lie. And it was not made or drawn for you. The proposed map in CD 34 in South Texas reduces the number of registered voters with Hispanic surnames by nearly 15 percentage points. They are not going to look or sound like you. This plan would more than double the Anglo representation in South Texas. It would increase the Anglo voting population by 135%. They do not look, live, act, or speak like you. They do not know or understand your struggles. There is not a single restaurant, place, or even sporting event that you could go to in the Valley that is 135% Anglo. I've looked. No la vas a encontrar. It's not there. I also rise today to address this growing myth that is being spread. And I guess the thought is, if we keep saying it enough, maybe it will become true. If we keep telling the whole world Hispanics are voting more and more red, the Valley is turning more and more red, if I say it enough, maybe it'll be true. Ladies and gentlemen, this map, this proposed map, is evidence that that is a lie. Not only is it not true, they are so afraid of how fiercely you are about to rise up that we are building walls, carving lines, and destroying communities to make sure that you don't stand up and tell the nation that that is false. I cannot stand by idly and let them continue to perpetuate this lie. Son mentiras. I will never stop being proud of being from the Valley, and I will never stop fighting for our voice. And I'm telling you right now, please, if you respect or care for the Valley, vote no on this map. And when we continue to ask, why would you vote yes? And you say, because we can. I ask you to stop, pause, and think of all of the history, horrendous and otherwise, that we've been through because of the masquerade that might makes right. With this great power comes great responsibility, and we know that. It is our job to exercise restraint with our power. Please consider the power of restraint that you have right now for the people of Texas, and South Texas in particular. South Texas, they are drawing these lines because they are very, very afraid of Hispanic voices. And I think they should be.
What we have, ladies and gentlemen, what we have from, or what we have seen as of late has been how the party in the state of Texas, the Democratic Party, has been very reluctant to form a quorum. We saw how this has been made a very big issue. There was talks of many of them traveling to New Mexico, to states such as Illinois. What happened earlier in this month, August 2025, over 50 Texas House Democrats, they left the state. They broke quorum in the Texas House during a special legislative session. And this walkout, ultimately what it did, it halted all House business because Texas right now currently requires 100 members present to conduct business. And with Republicans holding 88 seats, well, the Democrats' absence, they made passing legislation, and particularly the contentious redistricting bill, House Bill 4, impossible. Now, there have been amendments, if I'm not mistaken, filed recently to amend the Texas Constitution to reduce the number of members to form a quorum. Right now, currently, it is 100, I believe, the number that they're proposing. by the Republicans is 77, if I'm not mistaken. Now, this special session, ladies and gentlemen, has been an aggressive agenda. It has included a mid-decade redistricting plan, which has been favored heavily by Republicans. And this has been backed by the White House and President Trump. Democrats, such as Representative Erin Gamez and others, oppose the map. They argue that it's diluting minority voting strength. She just stated right now on the video, on the feed that I just showed you. Now, the walkout, it did last around 2 weeks, 15 days. It did end on August 18th when Democrats returned, allowing the House to resume. Shortly after, Republicans have been pushing for the redistricting bill to move forward. Now, the idea behind this is, why did they do that? Why were they so reluctant of this passing? Well, Democrats, they did say that the proposed congressional map would unfairly empower Republicans and weaken minority representation. So essentially, by breaking quorum, they delayed the vote and they sought to draw attention to what they saw was an unconstitutional power grab. Their departure wasn't just a legislative tactic, by no means. It was a political strategy. They wanted to raise awareness at the national level, to put pressure. They aimed to attract national media coverage. They mobilized Democratic donors and prompted counteraction from other Democratic-led states. We did post yesterday in regards to California, how California is currently right now in the works of redistricting, of gerrymandering in their state. Now, this seems as if it is a last resort tactics. With limited options, the Democrats, they utilize one of the few remaining constitutional tools at their disposal, denying quorum. Now, what has been the outcome of this? Well, the House Speaker did impose a fine on these individuals. But more solely, I do want to talk about Erin Gamez because, well, she is our representative in Austin. And she did go on and release a statement. And she did state, my decision to deny quorum is based on my responsibility to represent the people of District 38. Any decision on when to return will be based solely on what best serves our community, not political pressure from either side. She goes on to say, attempts to bully, harass, or intimidate my staff or myself will have no bearing on my actions. Sadly, this quorum break has revealed the true character of some people, and it has been very disappointing. I remain steadfast in my commitment to the Valley. That will never change. Now, after Representative Gamez returned, there's still no confirmation of whether she left the state or not. But once the Republicans as a whole decided to, you know what, let's go back to the Capitol. Once they decided to come back, Erin Gamez released another statement. She says, my hope is that with a second special session, we can start anew and focus on the issues that really matter to Texas, like disaster response and mitigation. However, if the governor chooses again to prioritize redistricting above all else, let me be clear. I came back to continue the fight in a new arena. I broke quorum because it was the right thing to do. The strength of our democracy lies in protecting the integrity of the process. This isn't a republic or a democratic idea. It is an American ideal. We can't afford to take our freedoms, our democracy for granted. That's why we took action to defend the values we hold dear and to stand against efforts to silence our community. In doing so, we brought national attention, an attempt to weaken our voices by demanding communities like ours in the Valley. We stood up because democracy demands it. Despite facing threats of arrest, criminal charges, and expulsion from our duly elected position, we stood our ground to protect the rights of Texans. During the special first session, we successfully blocked the passage of congressional map crafted by DC insiders, one designed to let politicians choose their voters rather than allowing voters to choose their leaders. This fight continues on a new front, and we must establish a strong legislative record for the legal battle ahead. We may lay the groundwork in the state house so we can prevail in the courthouse. We deserve fair maps. We deserve a government that reflects who we are, not one that suppresses our voices. Again, we went on to state how we felt as if the Democrats was doing this just for show. She goes on to say, that, hey, we did break quorum. We do want to make this a national issue. We made the argument, what would happen? What would happen if we told our boss that we weren't going to show up? We talked previously about how what would happen to us, and many people have been applauding. Many people have been applauding Erin Gamez and other Democrats and continue the fight. Continue to do this. This is what we need. This is what we asked for. That is something that we've been hearing a lot as of late. Now, while we may not agree on certain issues, what I think is important for us to recognize, ladies and gentlemen, is that there are people out there who continue to support and condone these actions by the Democrats. Hey, there I am. Can you see me now? Good. Let me see. Again, technology, ladies and gentlemen. Technology. Give me a thumbs up if you can see me. No, tampoco. Wow, that's funny. Anyways, the show must go on. So, again, what has happened? Well, we saw how this has caused many Republicans to rally on this issue. We saw how Governor Abbott, he did ask for new penalties to be assessed in the future. The governor did announce he was expanding his special session shortly after the Texas House passed a congressional map that the Democrats delayed. And just this Wednesday, Governor Abbott, he did add 3 new items to his agenda for the ongoing special session. It includes punishment for lawmakers who leave the state to block passage of future legislation. Governor Abbott announced that the new items, about an hour after the Texas House passed a new GOP congressional map that prompted House Democrats to flee the state in a bid to block its passage. The governor, he did call on the legislator to establish new penalties or punishments for lawmakers when they willfully are absent themselves during a session. In a press release, Governor Abbott did say that the legislation was needed to ensure that the rogue lawmakers cannot hijack the important business of Texans during legislative session by fleeing the state. Now, again, Governor Abbott and other Republicans, they did unleash an unprecedented response in their efforts to end the quorum break House Democrats started earlier in the month. This included filing orders seeking to vacate representative seats and authorizing civil arrests with DPS, the troopers. Most of those who fled, they did return on Monday, which allowed the House to resume business after previously denying the chamber the head count needed to conduct business. Now, with a Republican majority in both chambers, Democrats say breaking quorum was one of the few constitutionally protected tools they have left in their arsenal and their disposal to stall this congressional map passage. Governor Abbott, who controls the agenda during overtime legislative sessions, also asked lawmakers Wednesday to consider legislation allowing the purchase of ivermectin at pharmacies and to allow the state to conduct a groundwater study of East Texans' aquifers. So what did this lead to, ladies and gentlemen? Well, ultimately, what it led to, this is not a regular job, it's a political one. Don't give me the ifs. If this happens to a regular Joe, he would get fired. Well, again, let's see what happens, because at the end of the day, who pays for these salaries? Even though Representative Gamez gets what, $7,000, $12,000 at most, it's not much compared to Congress. I think a congressman makes well over $100,000, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is a job. It's a political job. Who pays for their salaries? We the people do. We the people ultimately pay for their salaries. Did you know, Maxi Poo? Did you know, Gamboa, that whenever we have special legislative sessions, this is on the taxpayer? This isn't like they just open the doors and, oh, everybody come in, you know, let's get it done. No, why? Because you have to pay for security, you have to pay for operations, you have to pay for the lights to be turned on. Let's focus on Texas. You guys want a squirrel over there? Look over there. Look over there. Look, are the Epstein files important? I guess. The Epstein files is now what has become the squirrel tactic. Oh, look over there. What about the Epstein files? Let's say hypothetically that the Epstein files do get released, Maxi Poo. Let's say. How would that affect Texas? How would that benefit Texas? Why are we using something that has nothing to do with the state of Texas? I guess we could say, oh, well, they walked out, so we can walk out too. They're totally different issues, affecting totally different people. So you mean to tell me that the walkout in D.C. to avoid the Epstein files being released, that had effect on the storm, the victims? Oh. You're not making a good point. So you're saying that the Epstein files relate to what's happening in Texas. They did something at the national level, so that has nothing to do with the state of Texas. So yes, it's fair for the Democrats to do so. That's your opinion. That's your opinion. Has he become convicted? Has he? So again, you people keep on bringing this up. How is it symbolic? I'm not crying. You're crying, Maxi Poo. How is it symbolic? How can we correlate what happens over there? Oh, on a totally different issue, we're going to walk out because they did something over there that has nothing to do with Texas. It's like saying something happened in New York. Oh, well, they did it in New York, so I'm going to do it here in Texas. Really? You're reaching for straws, Maxi Poo. You're reaching for straws. We expect our representatives, red or blue, to do their job. Again, we understand people applaud and keep applauding Erin Gamez. I don't. Why didn't Terry Canales from Hidalgo County, why did he show up? He's a Democrat through and through. He didn't leave. When his name was called, he responded, present. Why? Let's not go that far. A representative out of Hidalgo County showed up each and every time, if I'm not mistaken. Each and every time during this special legislative session. Why? He didn't run. He didn't hide. Look, life isn't fair. You want to say, oh, it's not fair. Is this against the Texas Constitution? Are the Republicans breaking any laws by doing this? The big argument is, oh, well, this is only done every census. I'm not crying. Why are you crying, Maxi Poo? Get your Maxi Pad out. Why would Erin Gamez leave? Her colleague, Terry Canales, he was present each and every time. He's a Democrat through and through. Why did he show up? Instead of fighting outside of the state, instead of arguing, what did this show? Nothing. It was theater, political theater. That's all it was. And then look what's happening in California. And what are you going to say? Well, it's because Texas did it. Now, some have balls, some don't. So you're saying Erin Gamez has balls. No, I would make the argument that people who face the fire, people who show up when the going gets tough, those people have balls. It's easy for our representatives to show up whenever, it's a photo op. It's easy for our representatives, whether congressmen or representatives, it's easy for them to show up when it's easy. They don't get paid for that. They get paid to make tough decisions. They get paid to show their face. I don't want someone that's going to run away from the fire. I want somebody that's going to run towards the fire. Again, all this is a show. And look what happened. What happened out of this, Maxi Poo? What happened out of this? Nada. What happened? You say, oh, yes, we applaud her. She has balls. What did she accomplish? What did the Democrats accomplish out of this? What came of this? Nothing. Ay, por favor. Levy was not easy. That was the easy thing to do. What awakening? What happened? Nothing happened. The GOP congressional map passed when they came back. I wish the camera was showing just so you could see exactly what I'm doing. Y'all are crying. Again, life is not fair. What do we say? Oh my God, life isn't fair. Boo-hoo. No. You know what the average person does? Los amarramos y tiramos fregazos. At least that's what I do. I'll get back to you because it's gonna deviate me away from. Repost this like in 10 minutes. I don't want to go away from Maxi Poo. Aquí la tengo bien enjalao. But what happened? What did this ultimately bring? Democrats, what did this ultimately bring to you? Take a breath. Take a toke. What did this ultimately bring? Nothing. It just delayed. And what did this delay cause? Money, your taxpayer money being spent. Maybe you're like saying, hey, it's okay. What a woken. You think the raza cares about people fleeing? You think the raza, oh yes, spend my taxpayer money. Don't show up to work. I am awoken. No hay pedo. The raza doesn't care, bro. They have. And what does that happen? Nothing in the state of Texas. Nothing. What did this bring? Well, a memo, ladies and gentlemen, what I have on the screen. A memo. Here is a part of the memo sent to Texas House Democrats who broke quorum. It shows the members incurred a $7,000 fine per day absence plus a share of the $125,000 cost incurred by the House per the memo. And let me read it to you. Why are you crying? I'll give you something to cry about, Maxi Poo. The House of Representatives ordered a call of the House on August 4th, 2025, as a quorum was not present on the initial registration. You did not appear in response to that call, and the Sergeant of Arms and officers appointed by her were directed to secure your attendance under a civil warrant of arrest as necessary, and a civil warrant was actually issued as authorized by the rules. The first called session adjourned since Sin Die on August 15, 2025. A quorum still was not present. The House of Representatives renewed the call on August 15th, 2025, as a quorum was not present on the initial registration of the second called session. You did not appear in response to that call, and the Sergeant at Arms and officers appointed by her were directed to secure your attendance under a civil warrant of arrest as necessary, and a civil warrant was actually issued as authorized by the rules. A quorum was obtained on August 18th, 2025. Now, accordingly, you were absent 14 calendar days for the purpose of impeding the action of the House. The Committee on the House Administration has calculated your fines and pro rata share of the costs incurred in securing your attendance under Rule 5, Section 3, House Rules of Procedure as follows. Fine, $500 per calendar day equates to $7,000. Costs, pro rata share of $124,934 comes out to $2,354 with 25 cents per House member, for a grand total of $9,354.25 per member. As required by the Texas Constitution and House rules, you may request a due process hearing at which you may be present with counsel to provide an explanation as to why the full amount of fines and costs authorized by the rule should not be imposed. Alternatively, you may make a written submission to the committee in lieu of appearing personally. Any written submissions should be received in office no later than Monday, August 25th, 2025 at noon. If you have any questions in the process, please do not hesitate to contact me, Charlie Green, Chairman of the Committee on House Administration. Again, what did this bring? Nothing. It was just a show. I understand Ms. Erin Gamez had to be aligned with her Democrats, and maybe she feels as if this is discrimination. We're extending the congressional map of District 34 to Nueces County. Nueces County is red. Nueces County is predominantly Anglo. That's what she stated. Now, we have no issues of this fine. We anticipate Erin Gamez to pay this easy. I'm not sure if this could be paid with her campaign funds. I believe so. I could be wrong. This is chump change to Erin Gamez. This is like if you're asking me for a penny. Well, I struggle with giving you a penny. So, again, are you in support of individuals spending resources, spending money for an issue that they knew they weren't going to win? That's right. Show up when the going gets tough. I know, but when the tough gets going, Democrats flee the state, right? Ay, ¿qué puedo con ustedes, chingado? ¿Qué puedo con ustedes? But nonetheless, what did we see? I did post, who is it? Alex Dominguez. I did post how he fled or broke quorum. Let me bring it up. How he previously broke quorum. And this was not too long ago. This was what? This was 01, 02. Let me bring it up for you. We had how our former, at the time, representative, who at that point, I think he was running for Senate, if I'm not mistaken. Alex Dominguez broke quorum. He listened to the Democrats and said, hey, we got to leave, we got to flee, we got to get on this bus. What happened to Alex Dominguez? He lost. And mind you, these Democrats, they promised Alex Dominguez the moon and the stars. They said, if you leave, we'll help you get to the Senate. You need money? You'll have money. What did we see from that example 4 years ago when Alex Dominguez broke quorum, when he got on a bus with the Democrats and when he fled the Capitol? What did we see? We saw he lost. We saw that those individuals that promised him that they were going to support him. Now, I'm not saying that Erin Gamez is banking on this. Erin Gamez does not need the support of well, it's good to have their support. But I'm not saying that, that she's banking on this. But you have to ask yourself, was it worth the effort? Was it worth to spend all this money to throw this berrinche, to cause a scene? Is it? I hope it was. Again, I tend to look at history and try to dissect it. And I showed you how Alex Dominguez did something very similar, and it affected his campaign. What have we seen as of late? What do we hear as of late? Well, we hear that Erin Gamez is going to have an opponent. Bam Morales, who recently bowed out of the Republican primary for D34. We did post yesterday on our platform that he will be making an announcement, that he will run up against Erin Gamez. Now, for Maxipu, for Gamboa, for Toker, I want it to be very clear. I think the moon and the stars of Ms. Gamez, I know her personally. She's a very bright, very intellectual woman. She fights in the courtroom for justice for her clients. I don't agree with her not showing up. You agree with it. We could agree to disagree. Will this affect her if she has a GOP challenger? Possibly. I'm not holding it against her, because on paper, Erin Gamez is legit. I'm not here to bash her. I'm not here to, on her merits, she's on a freaking pedestal. She knows that. And I hope she realizes that I think the world of her. I really do. I don't agree with her fleeing the state. I wanted her to be like Terry Canales out of Hidalgo County, the representative in that area. He showed up. He may not have been in agreement with what was happening, but Maxi Poo, when the going gets tough, people show up. Again, life isn't fair. What do you want me to do? To run away? When parents have issues, do they run away from their children? No, they duke it out. They throw fregazos. When their back's against the wall, hey, man, it's all or nothing. We may not agree with what's going on in life, but we common folks, we in the real world, we show up to work. We give our face. We may not agree with the issues. We may not agree with what's going to happen, but we show up. Is this going to affect Erin Gamez? I don't know. I hope not. Again, I consider myself a Republican, but I think very, very highly of Representative Gamez. I hope she knows that. Very highly of her. Not afraid of her. What I am afraid of is that she might lose her position. Why do you say that, Frankie? President Trump, correct me if I'm wrong, he narrowly won Cameron County, or he narrowly lost Cameron County by a few points. Now, you may make the argument, hey, well, President Trump's not going to be on the ballot. But this race could potentially be a coin flip. I'm saying view the facts. Study your candidates. The little that I know of Bam Morales, he's a veteran. Would he flee if the Democrats did this to him? I don't know. I would hope not. I think of veterans and I hold veterans in the highest esteem, in the highest honor. I think those individuals that enlist in the military are very brave. Something that some of us weren't willing to do at one point, but they did. When the going gets tough, strong men and women show up. Strong men and women fight, give their face. Again, is this going to affect Erin Gamez? I hope not. I hope it doesn't affect her. But the reality that she's facing is that she has a candidate. She will have an opponent. And the Republicans, ladies and gentlemen, they're gonna spend millions, and I hope you could see my face. I wish you could see my face. Millions of dollars. When I'm talking millions, possibly two, maybe more. They want this seat. They see somebody such as Erin Gamez who walked out, and they're gonna say, we want that seat. We want to paint it red. We want an R next to D38. Is this going to affect Erin Gamez? I hope not. But with the millions and millions of dollars, But with the millions and millions of dollars that the Republicans are anticipated to spend, this race might be a toss-up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much to those people that participate, Maxipoo, Toker, Gamboa, and others. I really appreciate you. It is because of you people that I get up here and we talk about the very important issues. We may not agree with them, but the thing is, we need to bring awareness to others. That's the beauty of this program, that I let you criticize me. I let you throw rocks my way. I know that I live in a glass house, and for every rock that I throw, 10 get thrown my way. Best believe that I enjoy it. I feed off of this. Remember, y'all are helping me with my algorithm. So I appreciate your comments. You want to see me cry? I'll cry. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Our goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Currently, right now, we're roughly at 770, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. 767 to be exact. All I ask is for a simple subscription. It will help me a long, long way. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frankie Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Peace. Have a good weekend. And I'm going to cry for you, Maxi Pearl. I'm going to cry. Good weekend, guys.